Hello, everyone. My name is Amber,
I'm Lucy.
and we are here today with Let's Travel Vet Med Style, and we have a very special guest. So today we'll be talking with Emily. You can see her smiling face, very tan right here, looking wonderful. So Emily is a registered vet nurse from the UK, and she is currently working and living in the Gambia, and she's working with the Gambia Horse and Donkey Trust. And we came across Emily's work through her Instagram. It is at the Nomad Vet Nurse, and her work is incredible. It's tireless. It is just so impressive. And we wanted to talk to her today to give us a rundown about what she does in the Gambia and hopefully inspire you guys to get out there and travel in the veterinary realm. So
yeah, because we are Emily's biggest fans, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, we've been fangirling over you for the last year.
Someone has to.
Right? Well, we got you. Trust me. We got you, girl.
We're here for you.
Sure. I can't, internet is so bad in Gambia. I can't believe it's taken us this long to actually get on and have a chat.
I know. Yeah, I know. I feel like we would all get along so well if we could have a girls hangout.
Yeah.
So well.
Right?
So well.
Well, Emily, do you mind kind of introducing yourself and telling us a bit about your title back home and your work experience and everything that led you up to the Gambia?
So I am Mills, wonderfully introduced so far, probably better than I'll do myself. So I'm a registered vet nurse in the UK. I was actually pretty newly qualified when I first went out to Gambia. And the whole reason I wanted to get out there was to get more experience. And they had loads of really good vets going out every year from all across the globe, farriers, dentists, nurses, physios. And I was like, yes, I could learn so much. This will be great. Yeah. And then I got out there and Corona happened.
Dang it.
Oh, good. And now I'm here by myself. So a completely different experience to what I had planned in my head.
Yeah.
But also really good. I think I'm quite lucky that I worked and trained in quite a busy but rural practice before I went out there. So it's a mixed practice in the middle of the English countryside. So they do small animal, equine farm, also a bit of exotic because there's a few zoos nearby. So really, really lucky with all the stuff I could be involved in. But yeah, not the experience I had planned.
Sure. Right. That's amazing. We were wondering your history before this because the just array of patients that you have ranging from monkeys to turtles to horses, I wouldn't even know where to start. So that makes a lot more sense that you kind of have a bit of experience with a little bit of everything. That's really cool.
Yeah. Jack of all trades, master of none.
No, you are definitely the master of it all.
Right? Whatever. All right, Lucy, do you want to kick us off with some questions?
Oh, I'd love to, Amber. Yeah. So, what initially brought you to the Gambia? Why was it there that you chose to go?
It's my mum that first got me involved. She was getting a bit bored of her life and wanted to get involved in charity work and found a few charities out there that you can sponsor a kid's education, but also then visit the families and get involved in community projects. So she went out there a few times first. And then I decided to tag along for a few of her other trips, which is just visiting schools, building wells in communities, just supporting some of the poorer families. And we were out in one of the really rural villages up country one day because Gambia is a really small country. And there's the coastal area, which is the more touristy part. But then if you follow the river up the country, it's very, very traditional, very rural. Lots of the local villages are still sort of your traditional mud huts with the straw roofs, really beautiful African countryside. And we were visiting an orphanage out in the bush there, and I found a tiny litter of puppies. I was like, oh, help.
Right.
So got online and found the Horse and Donkey Trust, sent them a message straight away, and they were happy for me to take the puppies there. Got to the centre and then just fell in love with all of the animals, the donkeys, everything they had there. The staff was super welcoming. So I was still a student vet nurse at that point, but I arranged to go back for 4 weeks to volunteer with them.
Nice.
Yeah, so kind of got a taste for it then. Came back to the UK working in practice, and I just couldn't settle. I think once you've got a taste for that volunteering and makes a difference,
Right.
You get the bug, you're in. That's it.
You're preaching to the choir, girl.
Like claw clipping and anal glands, and I was like, oh, this isn't my life.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. It's so funny how, I mean, we just connect so deeply with some places, and that kind of leads us into our next question. First, can you tell us how long you've been working there, and what do you think it is that has made you decide to stay so long?
Because can I just say, the Gambia suits you so much.
Right?
Well.
I've never seen somebody so much like in their natural habitat.
Yeah.
It's really weird for me, because if I looked at Gambia as a whole, it's not a country that I'd ever be like, yeah, like I'm gonna live there forever. Like this is my country. I love mountains, and Gambia is flat as a pancake. Like I love the green, and Gambia's not too green. They're building on a lot of it, but it's just very addictive. And so when you agree to sign up as a long-term volunteer with the Horse and Donkey Trust, you sign like a 12-month contract, and they pay your flights to get there and get home if you're out there for the full 12 months. So that was my plan in my head: go for a year, get it out of my system, come back home. And that was nearly 2 years ago.
Wow.
So it'll be 2 years in December.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's just really difficult. I think the longer you're somewhere, the more of a connection you have with the animals and the staff. And then the thought of having to leave it behind, it gets more difficult.
Of course. Yeah. It's a part of you at this point. It's like deeply like intertwined into your being. So yeah. Oh, he says hello.
Well, okay, so leading on from that then, what is your current role at the Gambia Horse and Donkey Trust?
I don't even know.
We were wondering how you were going to answer this question.
Like, oh.
We were like, she just basically does everything.
Right, I just exist and things happen.
Yeah, I'm just my life. I have to live and breathe and be the Gambia Horse and Donkey Trust.
That makes sense.
We've got the director lives in the UK. Her name's Heather Armstrong. She still does all the social media, all the fundraising. Like Horse and Donkey is her baby.
Yeah.
But out on the ground in Gambia, I'm kind of in charge of running the operations there. So at the moment, we've got the 2 centres. We've got Makasutu and Sambalkunda. In total, we've got well over 200 animals, like over 50 staff. Call outs every day, so it's coordinating that whilst keeping up to date with the meds forms and the physio and general patient care. Like
you're kind of like a practice manager.
Yeah, practice manager, nurse, kind of general dog's body.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. What a full day. Honestly, yeah, it's so impressive. Oh, I don't know. When do you sleep?
I don't know what that is anymore.
Yeah.
Does she?
Right?
Yeah.
I
have had to get better, because when I was first out there, like I'm one of these people, if I'm doing something, I want to do it properly, and like I want to do it really fucking well. Oh, sorry.
No. Welcome here.
So if like I'd want to do all the plans and the admin and the accounts, and I'd work a full day, and then I'd be up till about 1 a.m. doing admin and accounting. And I did get to the point that I really, really broke myself for a while, and like had to take a week away, and then come back and be like, no, like you need to actually take some time to just like not be anything, just like be a potato.
Yeah.
You need that time.
100%. Do you have any days off? Like, or is it just on constantly since you kind of live there?
Because you live there, it is difficult to get days off. Technically, we get 1 day a week where we can go to the beach or just take our downtime. But quite often, if things are happening, like you can't just walk away from a yard if there's a collapsed horse there. Like you'll be in the wrong job if you were still thinking, okay, no, I'm going to the beach. See you later.
Bye.
So, good luck with that dying horse.
Yeah.
So it's kind of not that job, which can get really difficult at times. But then when you see the horse that you've helped save and they're on their feet and they're recovering, that kind of gives you the boost to keep going. Now I've got Megan there too. We try, and if we don't get our off day, we try and clock our off days into a little bundle and just make sure we get away for a few days, just to like mainly sleep and
right.
Yeah.
I saw like photos that you posted of both you guys like sleeping at the beach. I bet you're just so tired. Oh my God.
We don't even really talk to each other when we get somewhere. We're just like, oh.
Like, bye.
I'm just gonna not exist for a moment. Bear with me.
Right. Let's just not exist together. That sounds great. So just for everybody to understand, and I know Lucy and I have a lot of questions as well. This is probably a loaded question, but what are some of the most common medical cases that you see?
So there's a lot of foreign diseases. So a lot of people, I think, when they think of volunteering, they sometimes hold off because they don't know about foreign diseases and what to expect or how to treat them. Like, we don't know either until we get out there. And still now something comes along with some sort of tick-borne or mosquito-borne neurological disease, and you try and research it and look it up, and it's like, could be one of 10. No way of testing it, so let's just try something.
Yeah.
So we get quite a lot of a disease called epizootic lymphangitis, and that's in the horses and the donkeys, and it's kind of a viral disease of the lymph system, which causes tiny nodules that erupt all along their skin, that it can grow on the inside too. Oh so gosh. We quite often get them when they're quite a late stage in this disease, because farmers just haven't noticed by the time it's really erupting.
Is it a fast progression from when it like the onset to where they're erupting everywhere?
Yeah, so it's quite a quick progression. They usually end up with a couple of nodules, usually between their legs or on their tummy, but it spreads really quickly. And then the treatment is also very harsh. So you're usually then treating quite emaciated horses and donkeys with then a really strong drug, which also isn't going to do them any good. But we get a lot of people when we're treating horses and donkeys, which in many other places they probably would be euthanized. But if there's even a small chance we could get them to pull through, people have to remember that this is a family's livelihood. Like, they do care for this animal. They just can't afford to treat it in the same way that we may be able to in Europe. 100%. So if we do kill this horse, they can't afford to buy another one. How are they feeding their family? So it's really easy sometimes to sit at home and judge seeing a picture of a skinny horse. And of course, like, it breaks our heart too. Yeah. But it's looking at the whole picture. I could totally got off topic of that question.
No, that's an important point to put, because I think that's something. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Lucy.
What? No, I was just going to say, like, that it's just a completely different culture, isn't it? Than like, it as you said, it's their livelihood. Their animals aren't pets. They're there for their job, and they're there to work. And if they can't work, and that's the thing with the whole like education side of it, is trying to say, okay, well, actually, if you invest this little bit in getting a carriage and a harness that fits better and doesn't injure them, then that will work better for you in the long term. And that's like so important, isn't it? The whole like education side.
Massively important.
Yeah. And like, it really drills home the point that Lucy and I try to push on everybody who wants to volunteer abroad, no matter where you go, is that loving an animal can look a lot of different ways. Yeah. And just because it's different from what you're used to back home doesn't mean that they love them any less. It's just a different kind of love and compassion for their animal. So you're so right. It's easy to judge when you haven't really stepped foot into the situation, but it's wonderful. It sounds like the organization that you work with is extremely compassionate and helps almost everything that comes through your door, it seems like.
Yeah, they really do. And we're really lucky. Like I say, Heather, who's the director of the charity, we are a horse and donkey trust. So it would be so easy for her to be able to say, no, we're horses and donkeys, but we've got camels, dogs, cats, a turtle last year. Like anytime there is an animal that's suffering, they open the gates. Like there's no one else there. There's a local vet department, and there are a few like European vet clinics, but there's no other charity offering the type of work that we're doing at the moment.
Wow.
So you can't turn them away.
Yeah, exactly. How can you? Oh gosh, that has to be so difficult. I mean, that's wonderful that you guys are there, but I can just imagine the work that puts on your shoulders. That's incredible.
We've got so many pictures of me and Megan just like laying on the hospital floor, like, why?
Why? Right. Where do you even find the energy? Right.
It's crazy.
It is.
But like, just to add on to like the whole culture thing, and I think that's why it's good on the majority side. All of the people that I've sort of met from traveling and volunteering abroad, we all do have an open mind, and I think you have to have an open mind when you go to these sorts of places.
Yeah,
100%.
Because you cannot go and be like, well, I wouldn't do it this way, or why aren't you treating me like this?
It does not get the job done. Not in a way that anybody enjoys.
No, and 90% of the volunteers we do get over are the same, like open-minded, okay, we'll do this with the reused vet wrap and whatever we've got. But then you do get the 10% that come out and they're like, yeah, but gold standard, like this is not gold standard.
This ain't gold standard, honey. This is literally not.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Do you know where you touched down? Like, I'm sorry. Oh my gosh, I love that. But I'm so thankful. And for anybody listening, I feel like the majority of the people that you do work with, for the most part, are going to be wonderful, open-minded, compassionate people. And you'll learn too, like, and this kind of flows into our next question about like available like diagnostic tools, but it almost takes you back to the basics, like in terms of just like your basic monitoring skills and really strengthening like who you are at the core. Because back home, I feel like we have so many extra added on tools to figure out a problem where you have to almost like trust your ears, your eyes, your gut, and your knowledge when you're working abroad. There's no other situation that really does that to you aside from working in a foreign country with few resources.
Yeah. I mean, that's like the same for me because I trained and only ever worked when I was training and then when I qualified in a large referral hospital. So like I'd only ever known gold standard. So my first volunteer project, I was like, but where's all the monitors? What am I going to do? So like, I mean, so you learn, you know, but again, you have to have an open mind. Now I'm like, who needs a monitor? Obviously, when I'm working in places that have the things, I use them. But when I'm abroad now, it's not a crazy thing to have to use your eyes and your ears.
And it's my favorite part of nursing. I think I'll really struggle if I do ever come back to the UK to be an actual UK nurse now, because I'm like, you know, like if you mix this piece of dirt with this sample of blood, then we'll know what this is.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Oh my gosh, I love that. It's so true. I don't know if any of us will be able to step back into normal life again. Like this way of life really just, it shakes you to your core. I can't imagine doing anything else, you know?
What do you mean you have disposable things? Disposable?
Right? Disposable. Right? I can't tell you the last time I threw out a syringe, you know? It's like, hold on. Hold on a second.
What tools do you have? Because are you donated a lot of things, or for like diagnostics and stuff, what do you have?
We are. We're so lucky with the amount of stuff. All the equipment we have has been donated or fundraised for. So we've got an X-ray machine, which is probably our most valuable bit of kit because we get so many RTAs. Like the amount of fractures I've seen, and I'm just like, how is this animal standing? Like, how has this donkey just walked his cart in when his leg is out at a right angle? It's crazy. I think back to if I came home now, I think a dog would come in with a broken leg, which is like a hairline fracture, and I'll be like, fine, just put some duct tape
Why
around.
is it crying so much?
They'll be good. Oh my God.
But no, we've got really basic lab equipment, so we can do PCVs, TPs, and blood smears. Seeing like volunteers come and do the PCVs the first time is my favorite thing, because the centrifuge we use most of the time, it's like one that you put on the edge of the desk and you spin it really, really, really hard.
What?
Stop! How fun! Never
like how?
Yeah, and the guys are really good at, once you draw it up, if you stick it upside down in the dirt, like it then settles properly, and then we just look at it across a piece of paper to get the accurate PCV. I must take a video of it one day. I keep meaning to.
Yeah, you need to do that. This is amazing.
That's
so
incredible.
Cool.
Oh my gosh! So do you have to spin it the whole time?
Yeah, just like really, really spin it.
Wow!
Why?
Wild.
But we have to rely on that. We have got an electronic centrifuge, but because all of our electric is solar powered, if the electric's off, we have to go back to the manual ways anyway.
Yeah.
We'd love to have more of like a built up lab to be able to do more testing. But then we think about it too, it's such a dusty atmosphere that I don't think any of these new high-tech like IDEX lab equipment, I don't think it will last, because you leave your phone on the side for 5 minutes and it's got a layer of dust over the top. And if the electric's not running, then you can't do any tests anyway. So
true.
You basically need like the Nokia versions of all old
do.
lab equipment.
Yeah,
Nokia
you need the good old
do
spinning centrifuge. It does the job.
Playing Snake whilst you're waiting for it to load.
See, this is a good lesson in like knowing that when you walk into a situation, you don't always know what's best for a rescue, you know, because like it's easy for us to step in and be like, why don't you have better diagnostic tools? And then you're sitting here explaining, because of this, it wouldn't work out because there's dust buildup and everything. So it's a lesson in knowing that, you know, each rescue is doing the best that they can with the tools they have, and just trust that. You know, they're doing okay. They're figuring it out.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And me, then I didn't even consider that you didn't have like electricity, that it was solar powered, you know?
Yeah, a lot of the time, most of the time our electric lasts, like if it's been a good sunny bright day, we might have it overnight. But if there's been any storms, or if we've taken a lot of x-rays, then it will go out a lot earlier. And particularly this time of year, because it's rainy season, if it's been raining for 3 days straight, we could go like a day and a half without electric. And if there's no electric, then the borehole doesn't refill, so then we don't have any water.
Wow. This is wild. Well, I remember an Instagram story of you one time checking like how much electricity you had on the solar panel, figuring out how many x-rays that you were able to do that day. And I was like, that is so cool. That's so crazy. It's things you don't even think about. It's like a totally different like challenge on top of something that's already challenging.
And then you have to be like a real bitch and go around the yard. If the electric's just come on, everyone wants to charge their phones, and I'm running around like I'm plugging chargers, like,
oh my God. Wow.
The ground needs me.
Right. Yeah. So the whole time that we've been like messaging Emily, she's like, I can't talk to you. My phone is dead. Like, sorry, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you.
Priorities.
Yeah. Leave me alone, Lucy and Amber. My phone is dead. Oh my gosh. Well, this is going to kind of jump onto a totally different topic, but I know this is something Lucy and I are really interested in learning, and I'm sure a lot of people are as well, because it's not a common issue that we have to deal with, especially in the UK or other Western parts of the world. But like, so being in a rabies endemic area, how do you usually protect yourself and your staff if you have like rabies suspect patients? How do you go about that situation?
I am personally really, really bad, and I keep having to go and get my post-exposure vaccines, which isn't easy because Gambia often don't have any. So we have to go to Senegal and get them.
Yeah, I remember seeing a story that was like a day travel.
It's insane. And there's such a short window for you to get it. But you can usually tell if the dog, like there's so many different neurological diseases in Gambia, from like tick-borne diseases, like mosquito spread, distemper, rabies. Like when we see a neurological dog, we have to kind of think like, okay, is it doing this? Is it ticking every box? And a lot of the time, the dogs we do see that we believe have got rabies, they haven't got the typical mad dog rabies. They've got the dumb rabies form.
Yeah, the big one that you told us about.
Yeah.
So
even more challenging.
So they don't have the aggression, which is your typical, okay, it's trying to kill everything it sees. They're just very much out of it, like their head lolling back, drooling, they can't focus. Which, when you're then presented with a dog and your natural instinct is to want to nurse it better, and kind of without thinking a lot of the time, I'm like, okay, like, eat this food out my hands. Cover me with your saliva.
That's so hard.
Every time. And I'm very good at telling the staff, don't come near this dog, it might have rabies. But hold on, I'm just going to put this catheter in. Fuck, I'm not wearing gloves.
Yeah,
so
that's
better. But it's just difficult when to your core you want to like pick them up and cuddle them, and then you're like, probably shouldn't have done that.
I can imagine.
But then, like, obviously because it's rabies, like, what is your treatment plans for them, and especially as well like dogs but also horses, because I'm so like intrigued by it. So any dog or horse we get that we admit with any neurological sign, we do isolate them straight away, and then we'll start them on like your typical treatments. So depending on what symptoms they're showing, they usually go on steroids. If they need a bit of sedation to keep them calm, just giving it as and when they need. It's really difficult to get diazepam out there. Diazepam really helps with the ones that are like really seizuring and really frantic. But usually it's just like steroids, like IV antibiotics, subcut antibiotics, throw that at them for 24 hours with fluids. If there's absolutely no change, then we'll take step 2 of like, if they haven't made even the slightest improvement, we usually euthanize them at that point. It's much rarer in the horses and donkeys, so they tend to get a longer course of treatment and assessing their symptoms every day. But with the dogs, we have to be really careful. And once you've seen a few rabid dogs, I think you do just get to know, like, no, we've seen this, we know how this is going. So you can't cure it. So the safest thing you can do is euthanizing them before they start, because it must be traumatic. Like they don't know what's going on. Like so scary for them, but probably is painful. Probably.
Oh my God, I can't even imagine. And even like taking it as sorry, go ahead.
The saddest one we had, it was a really young dog, and it had been attacked by another dog, just like there was less than a month before, and then had slowly started developing these symptoms. And luckily it had a family that noticed like, our dog isn't well, because usually they don't notice until the dog's collapsed. But they brought him to us quite early, and he had that, like, he was scared of water, because that's another test we do, is trying to get them to drink. And if they don't want to go near the water, we're like that kind of is the easiest test you can do when you haven't got any diagnostics.
They're hydrophobic. Rabies causes humans too.
I did not know that.
There's an entire Office episode about this, Lucy. You need to watch it.
I love The Office.
Me too.
Yeah, but she's talking about the US Office.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Talking to you too.
But that's the one I love too. So sorry.
See Lucy, step back, okay?
Oh well.
She gets it.
So is that the same in both types of rabies then?
I think both types, they do still get they're scared of the water. So that's a test we do a lot of the time. And
does that set in like immediately once their symptoms begin, or is that like in later stages? Does it seem?
No, I think it's in the later stage. Like they get the neurological, the disorientation, like the agitation, like catching flies, and then I think it's slightly different for each dog with any disease, I guess. But that's a test we do a lot when we're really on the line and not sure. We offer them the water, and then we kind of go like, no. But this one dog, he was so sweet, and even when he was at that point where he couldn't focus and he was agitated and he was walking in circles and he was scared of water, he was wagging his tail anytime you went in.
Oh, buddy.
And it's just heartbreaking.
Terrible. I mean, when you know their fate, and also then you have to think about the impact of this dog was just in close contact with humans. Like now we have to take it that step further, and they have to be aware of how serious of a threat this is. It's crazy.
It's really crazy, and especially because the hospitals aren't equipped, and a lot of the hospitals don't know what the symptoms are or provide the rabies vaccines. And even the president of Gambia, his own son was bitten by a dog and died of rabies. And there still isn't, other than the work we're trying to do, there still isn't a massive rabies program in Gambia.
Wow.
Like the education side is so key, because it's just, they don't know about it.
I was just going to ask that. I was like, is there a program? Program. Why did I say it like that? Like a rabies program or project or something going on? Nothing.
No. So we do as much as we can, but obviously, again, like our funds are limited. So it's so frustrating. You want to do everything. You want to start the rabies projects, and Heather's been in touch with Mission Rabies a number of times. They always get stopped at certain points because we have to have like all the different vet departments or the government or other people in the country all on the same page. But trying to organize everyone at the same time, the logistics of everything is what makes a lot of stuff in Gambia so hard.
That makes perfect sense.
But so you have a new job role now, no?
Yes.
Amazing.
So
can you tell us about that?
The veterinary department, the veterinary council, they're all coming together to try and generally improve animal welfare within the country, which is a great initiative. And it's something they've come up with themselves and invited a number of different organizations all to come forward. We're really lucky in the minute in Gambia, working actually for the council. I think it's the council she works for. There's a vet from the UK called Tess, and she's doing a lot of research out in the field, working with them. And she's out there from the University of Liverpool, I think. So she's heavily involved in this as well, but trying to just regulate the animal welfare standards more. So things like if the colleges and universities are applying for animal testing, which when I first got the letter through, I was like, no, like I do not agree with animal testing. This is against everything I'm for. But when I went to the meeting and asked, they said it's not like monkeys in a lab kind of test. It's out in the field researching the different diseases and the treatment options that are available in the country that work. But they still have to apply to be able to get the licenses to do that.
Okay, good.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, I don't know when I'll get the time.
Yeah, right. And for those of you who don't know, the title that she recently was given is she's the secretary of the Gambian Animal Ethics Committee, which is amazing. Just what an incredible honor. We're so proud of you. And
we are so proud.
Honestly, we had our own little party for you on the side when we saw your post. It's so cool. Yeah, something to be really.
I'm my own worst enemy though, because I'm so enthusiastic about everything, and I'm like, yeah, like I want to do this, and I'm gonna do it so well, and then I'm like, what time do I have?
Yeah, you're like, hold on a second, how will I do this again?
What can I stop doing?
Yeah. I think you'll be surprised with I mean the efforts that you can put in. I mean, I think it's going to be amazing. Even just your expertise and just like your additional input, like what you did with the monkeys when you just, spent a day and offered a little bit of additional enrichment and probably really changed the lives of the monkeys that will pass through. So, it's amazing to have somebody that can even put in just a little bit of education and knowledge and kind of help and make a big change, it's really cool.
That's what I hope, and I think that's what you get when you are somewhere for longer, because I've been thinking a lot about like taking holidays to go and volunteer on other projects, because I still really want to travel. Like I'd love to do more with wildlife, so orangutans in Borneo or like whale sharks in Mexico. I'd love to be more involved in that.
Yeah.
But if you're somewhere for longer, you've got more of a chance to share your education, like your experiences, and put in protocols, or hopefully if you end up repeating yourself 50 million times, like I feel like I do, it's eventually going to sink in for longer term.
100%. Yeah. And that kind of leads us into our next one in terms of, I think one of the most important ways, or the ways to make the most change is through education of the public. So does your charity really focus on educating the public and farmers and things like that? Is that a part of your daily job?
Yeah, they have a huge education program. So we actually employ 2 education officers, which were trained as paravets first, but now they go around schools Monday to Friday, teaching all the different grades about like the 5 freedoms, the very basics of animal care, showing them different wounds and why it's good to look after your donkey. We also have partnerships kind of with the Gambian College and the university. There's a great guy called Dr. Dafe. He's Gambian born and bred, but he went to vet school in Europe and then came back to the Gambia. He now teaches a whole range of like different animal welfare courses, livestock courses. So he brings college and uni level students to the centre at weekends. We welcome schools to come for visits just to be able to interact with animals and see that not all dogs are scary if you approach them in the right way and you know which ones to avoid. And actually, all of our donkeys do have names. Like, why doesn't your donkey have a name? Because something as simple as that can make them form more of a relationship with them rather than seeing it as a working object. Suddenly they've got Brian the donkey.
Yeah, love that.
How many staff do you have?
So at Makasutu, which is where we're based most of the time, I think we've got about 25. Some of them are apprentices as well. So we run an apprenticeship program. You can sponsor an apprentice, so you can pay for someone to have the year-long apprenticeship. You're covering their salary and their training. And then at the end of it, they're trained. So if they wanted to go back to their rural villages and just work as like a basic kind of first aid giver for the animals, they're trained to be able to do that.
Amazing.
But yeah, we have 25 at Makasutu and then probably about another 15 up in our Sambal-Kunda, which is the more rural base.
Wow, that's more than I expected. That's That's amazing.
But you've got so many animals still, it's not a lot, is it?
Yeah, you're like, it's not enough.
It's not enough.
Gosh.
If people wanted to come out and volunteer with you, then how would they go about that?
There's links either on our Facebook page or on the website. It's Heather, the lady I've mentioned many times. She's in charge of sorting all of that. You have to send a CV, a brief, like kind of like a cover letter of why you want to come out, the dates you're looking at, and then she'd give you a phone call and have a chat, kind of explain about some of the difficulties you may face to see if you're mentally prepared to come out. Because a lot of it is really traumatic. And it's being prepared for that. Like it isn't gold standard. We haven't got the law behind us. Even if an animal is on our yard with a broken leg at a right angle, we cannot euthanize them until the owner consents.
That's so difficult, isn't it?
It's hard, like it's really heartbreaking. And I think sometimes like we'll get quite negative comments on social media, but people forget that you're there because you care for these animals. Like exactly. It breaks our heart more.
Do you think that we're not laying awake at night thinking about it? Like, come on.
Because people seeing one thing and then casting a little comment, and I think everyone needs to stop doing this, because one comment that it takes you 2 seconds to write can really affect someone. Especially going through a bloody rough day anyway, which all of them probably are, you know.
Truly. I think that's something everybody should potentially mentally prepare themselves for is euthanasia isn't always something that's on the table. I mean, I know you obviously deal with that, Emily. I deal with that a lot working in Southeast Asia, with it being a Buddhist countries. It takes a lot more for owners to come to the conclusion of euthanasia. So that is something that you should mentally prepare yourself for if you plan on traveling. It's not always the case, but I think more often than not, you will have to accept an animal potentially suffering and you're not able to end their suffering, that you're probably going to come across that at some point. And I mean, I don't know about you, but I feel like those are the hardest cases for me to deal with, knowing that you can end their suffering and you can't, like that's the hardest part.
We had one of the saddest cases we had. It was a beautiful, beautiful horse. Like the owner had really cared for him, but when he first brought him to us, the horse, it was a complete fracture, like with splinters of the foreleg. Like it was never going to heal, but he had to go home and speak to his family. He understood on day one that it was the kindest thing to do. He understood that, but as the culture is, you have to go home and still discuss it with your elders. It's very much a culture of respecting your elders. So he went back to his village and unfortunately was persuaded to bring like the local healers, because the local healer may be able to fix it. So we never turn them away. We invite them to the centre to see what they can do. Like say if we think it might have a chance, we're happy to work with them, because it would be so disrespectful to just say, no, like Western medicine is the way, take your local healer and leave. So you have to still have those kind of beliefs and buy into it a bit yourself, knowing even if you know it's not, this leg isn't going to heal, you have to give it the time. Anyway, this poor horse, he was with us for such a long time, and every couple of days we were getting the owner there and his friends to discuss about the progress. All we could do was splint it, like do a really decent splint and keep him on pain relief and keep him on a calming supplement until eventually, months down the line, they do consent to euthanasia. But like we've already said, people forget that you're walking past that horse every day, forming more of a bond with him, because he's starting to prick his ears and whicker when he sees you, knowing that it's still inevitable. Oh no, now I'm going to start crying.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Well, okay, what has been like the best case, or like the happiest one?
Simba, right?
Simba, of course.
Where I swear we know all your patients.
I love that you know their names too.
I know. I was ready to talk about Simba.
Simba is definitely a huge one. Like, I mean, there's so many different successes. Like, there's hundreds of heartbreaks and torments and struggles, but then any success you get, that's what keeps you going. And Simba shouldn't be alive. Like, he shouldn't. Every single vet we spoke to and advice we got was just to euthanize these 5 dogs that had botulism. Like, they're not going to make it. But sometimes it goes back to what we said about that instinct in your gut. Like, something just tells you sometimes that, no, this one is going to make it. Like, it's going to be fine. I hadn't been at the Horse and Donkey Trust long then, and I think the staff hated me because suddenly I was like, okay, now we do 24-hour shifts. Like, these dogs cannot be left alone even a second.
Especially with like all the saliva buildup and stuff. Like, do they like choke it? Like, if you don't constantly, oh God.
You have to, and trying to train the staff suddenly really intensive nursing care without a vet on site. They all picked it up so well, and like literally holding these dogs up. But at first it was every couple of minutes, like by their back legs and like coupage down their lungs to clear the fluid. Things like that, and telling them like how to notice that that's starting to happen, why it's important to clear it. Having to do that for weeks on end was insane. But then the little moments, like Simba particularly, I remember it was like 4 o'clock in the morning one night, and I was sat there with one of the guys, like, the others have all recovered. This one, he's making no progress. He'd lost so much weight. His head was like just had that triangle where it was all wasted away. And like it was just miserable. You couldn't syringe feed him properly because he couldn't swallow well enough to take it in. But we can't fit feeding tubes because we don't have a vet on site. That you can just do it through fluids and as much IV stuff as you can give. And we were sat there having this discussion about like saying sorry to him, like saying you tried. And then like he just wiggled one toe. I was like, no.
Stop it, abort. Oh my God.
Not giving up, like put the Euphatal away, like we are carrying on. And then like ever from then, like every day he was doing something more, like his whole paw would move, and then he'd be able to like kind of hold himself. And for such a long time, he was so like scrawny and discombobulated.
I love that.
Now he will not leave my side.
If you ever leave the Gambia, and I say if and not when, because you know, obvious reasons. I don't think it'll ever be able to function without you there, you know.
No.
Will you take him back home with you?
100%. I wouldn't have a choice in it. I feel like he'd get in my suitcase.
He's like, this isn't happening. Yeah.
But then that's the difficult thing, because I'm like, okay, if I ever do leave, I've got to take Simba, I've got to take Hiccup, your favorite list.
Hiccup is a celebrity.
He's so famous.
He is.
I've got to take Naranja, because he's also just a miracle pup. But if I take Simba, I've got to take Baloo, because Baloo the cat is obsessed with Simba. And then I've got a sheep in the garden, so I can't leave the sheep behind.
Yeah, no way. No way.
So basically you'll just be having like Millie's Ark.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're relocating the Gambia Horse and Donkey Trust. That's what you're saying. You're relocating the charity. Wow.
I'll just get on my paddleboard one day with a sheep and 4 dogs and a cat on my shoulder.
Yeah, no big deal. Oh my God.
Oh, amazing.
Well, this was all so amazing and so informative. I know we have a million questions every time we see anything you post, and we really appreciate you sharing your story. And I think this will really inspire people to kind of get out there and step into a more challenging situation and really expand your career in vet med. So this was amazing.
Yeah. It's not for everyone, but I do think everyone should give it a try at least once, because it either shows you that no, it isn't for you, or it shows you the skills you do have and the nurse that you are, and that, okay, you might have all these fancy equipments, but if the equipment's telling you the animal's fine, but your gut's telling you it isn't, listen to your gut.
Yeah. 100%. And you don't always have to sign up for a year-long volunteer contract. There are definitely situations to where you don't have to dive in so deep, but you can still have a really meaningful experience. You can learn a lot. Honestly, I know, Lucy, you feel the same way. The most that we've ever learned in practice is when we're working in different countries. It's truly has made me the vet tech that I am today because of my volunteer work. So
definitely.
Yeah, you're just in these situations where you just have to think, okay, well, I have to do something now. I haven't got anyone to ask. I haven't got this item that I need. What can we do? Improvise.
And I think you'll surprise yourself in most situations how well you can do. I remember I used to struggle thinking there's no way I'm prepared. I don't have the education, I don't have the skill needed to do what this person is doing. But then you really get into the situation and you can really surprise yourself. You are a wonderful nurse. You do have the knowledge, and you can apply it under pressure, and it'll be a wonderful experience. Amazing.
It definitely 100%.
Yeah. Right. Well, I think that's about it. Is there anything that you want anybody to take away from this, Emily?
No, I think we've covered everything so well.
Nice.
Our own trumpets.
Right. No. I think we did good. No big mishaps.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to crop too much. All right. Well, thank you so much, Emily, for talking with us today. Honestly, it was amazing. Lucy and I enjoyed this conversation so much, and I think the followers of the podcast will seriously just have a heyday. This was amazing and so informative. So thank you so much for being here. And we will catch you guys in the next episode of Let's Travel Vet Med Style. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Bye.